Friday Frenzy, life of two real estate agents in 1 week. What we got up to, stay tuned.
I'm the ringleader, so listen up.
Good morning, guys. Hard to believe that it's Friday again. Oh my goodness, and that it's going to rain the whole week. But another really, really busy week. Do we ever have quiet weeks?
Nope.
Does anyone ever have a quiet week? Please, out there, put your hand up if you ever have a quiet week or there's days where you think, I'm bored.
No.
I'd love to know, because that is definitely not our life.
Monday, then it's Wednesday,
Yeah.
then it's Friday, then it's the weekend.
Yeah.
It goes and it goes and goes and goes. And now it's we're 3 months into a new year.
I know.
I find that incredible.
Easter.
Incredible.
Easter. I like Easter because I love eating Easter eggs.
Yeah. And what I find even more incredible is Lisa made me a coffee this morning in a girl's mug, and
Isn't he lucky that I made him a coffee?
it's not right. It's not right. But thank you.
He's lucky I made him a coffee.
Yeah.
Guys, as we said, another busy week. Real estate, the never-ending, changing face of real estate. I was watching an interview yesterday, Mark, with Tom Panos.
Legend.
And absolute legend. And he was doing, he does, I think it might be weekly, fortnightly, monthly, I'm not really sure, but a catch-up with the head of REB, Momentum.
Yep.
Top guy. Really good watching, actually, guys. They just do a good, synopsis as to what's going on, really, just in the market,
Yeah, right.
in real estate. And Tom's saying that, the market has completely just leveled out. It's, it's now gone back to a buyer's market, which I've been seeing now for a couple of weeks.
I find that with houses, not as much units.
Houses
Houses are leveled out.
leveled out, not a yeah, I'm with you,
Units.
Mark.
Yeah, I find units are just ticking along.
Yes, I'm with you.
Houses had a big run.
Oh, God, did they ever?
Houses had a huge run.
Did they ever?
So, yeah, it's interesting.
Yep.
Good morning, Michelle, you legend.
Hey, Michelle. I think what a lot of people forget, though, and I'm always saying this to my vendors, Mark, is that, if we were selling your property 12 months ago, we definitely wouldn't be up at this level,
Yep.
because people think the market's just, dropped. It goes up and then it levels out.
Yep.
And, now it's just found its new ground, but it's up from where it was 12 months ago. I
But I
think
feel
that's
passionate
important.
about that. I think people have got a sore head. You know what it hurts? If you think your property's worth something, it's cash in the bank. And then when it's less, it's like, man, that sucks.
Yeah,
It's like you've lost the money.
yeah,
But you never, with real estate, I think you've got to be careful that, exactly what you just said, like it's a long play, it's long term,
It is.
keeps going up, and it's relative because you're buying back. So if you're selling your property for $1 million and you're buying something for 1.3, the 1.3 has taken a haircut bigger
yeah.
than the 1 million has taken a haircut. So don't worry about it. Keep trading.
But we're also selling, so in our area on the Northern Beaches, we're actually selling one-bedroom apartments now, Mark, for what we were selling two-bedroom apartments for. So, that's the reality of it. Is the market down? So this week, my team, not this is not Novak collectively, just my team have done 5 deals. That is not a quiet market. That is definitely not. The figures don't lie.
No, the figures don't lie. And the volume's there, and that that's, I think, for a real estate agency, that's the important thing.
Yeah.
The prices, it's agents are working harder for their money, which is not a problem.
Yes.
It's good.
Yeah.
The difference between a great real estate agent and a rubbish real estate agent is now very clear. So if you were a average, not a talented agent, you would have sold the property anyway in the last year. So now it's relying on the skills and talents of agents to get properties sold.
Absolutely.
Negotiation, experience and stuff like that. So actually what you'll find is when you're selling a property in this market, what the agent does and who the agent is actually matters a lot more than it did 6 months ago.
Absolutely. It really does. And I think, I actually really want to address the topic of agents and how much people think they love a hot market. As an agent, I actually don't love a hot market at all. Excuse me. You're dealing with, first of all, almost anyone can sell a property in a heated market. That's the reality. Every agent is a rock star in a heated market. Every property sale is a record sale for the area.
Yep.
Suburb record, block record. That's the market. That's not necessarily the agent. So,
we do claim it though, but it is the market.
It's the market.
Yeah.
And again, a heated market usually means that there's a very, very low supply of stock. So agents are scurrying for listings, aren't they, Mark?
Yep.
Some agents, not us, some agents will absolutely prostitute their fee to get a listing. So it's just a bad look for the industry.
Yep.
And then, of course, you've got a whole flurry of upset buyers who continue to miss out on properties. So it's not a fun market. As an agent, I personally prefer this market because it's a much more even playing field.
Agree. That's property prices.
Yeah.
This week in the news, I watch the news. I never watch the news. I don't listen to the news. I don't watch the news. And I watched the news 11 o'clock last night.
Yeah.
And shut myself.
Why?
It's just negative. It's
the
awful. World's in it. It's a tough position
it's awful.
that the world's in at the moment, and looking at the prices of fruit, veg, groceries, inflation, stuff like that. Petrol, just everything. And property prices are higher now. But my takeaway from it was that it's always hard. There's always adversary. There was adversary this time in March 2 years ago when we didn't know what the world was going to do. Very scary. 12 months ago, very scary, when COVID hit again. So I just thought to myself, you know what, as a country, we bound together through adversity, we got through it. And I think whatever happens in the next 12 months compared to the last 12 months, we're sort of ready for it.
But Mark, most people are dealing with things at the moment that we've never, ever dealt with in our lives, that we heard our great-grandparents talk about, plagues, war. We'd sit and hear these stories that got passed down through generations, and here we are living in a world that none of us ever imagined in our wildest dreams would ever happen.
Yep.
Someone actually wrote a book about COVID and said, this is what's going to happen. You're all going to get locked into your homes. You're all going to get really sick. Lots of people are going to die. La, 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 la. We would have sat there reading it just going, who made this rubbish up? Right? So the reality is it is actually hard to wrap your head around it. And then you add to that another layer,
and
war,
historically there's always
it's hard to watch. Watch it in bite-sized chunks.
Yeah, but historically there's always been adversity, and historically the race always gets through it. And if you look at the last month, year or two, it's hard. If you look at the next year or two, it's hard. So I think, we just got to do what we've got to do.
I agree.
Mum up, get through it. Don't be sad. Like I was last night when I watched the news at 11 o'clock.
Don't watch it before bed.
Went to bed and I was like, oh.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's
don't watch it before bed, but just watch it. But I think it's important to know what's going on. But just get a little bit of information. If you watch that news all day, oh my God, you'd surely end up with depression by the end of it.
Absolutely.
I love what Luke's written here. Good agents need it now. Oh, that's quite funny. That's quite funny. But yes, definitely, just getting back to the real estate market and what's going on, this kind of market definitely does divide the boys from the men, Luke.
Yep.
Yes, it definitely does.
Are sellers hesitant to bring property to the market? Interesting thing, we're always running our stats on what the market's doing. We're running at 7. So we a really nice number we're looking at is how many properties are on the market. Our biggest portal in our area, northern reaches of Sydney, has about 200,000 homes, and at any one time there's about 700 homes. When the market's been bad, prices have been levelled out or going down. We've sometimes hit 1,100 properties, 1,200 properties.
Yeah.
When the market's been really good, pumping like a beetroot, we sit at about 550 properties. In the last 3 months, we've been sitting at about 700 properties. 2 months, 3 months, the whole way through. So my point is stock levels are level. But what's interesting is they're staying on the market for longer.
Yeah.
So I guess you could say, Luke, yes, there are less properties coming on because the number that we're running is they're staying on the market for longer.
Yeah, but I had a really big listing day at the beginning of this week, Mark.
He's my female coffee.
I've got a matching one just so that I can keep him company with it. But, I had a big listing day Actually, I've had a big listing week at the beginning of this week. The reality is, Luke, people will always need to buy and people will always need to sell. The market has not plummeted. I think there's a bit of confusion around this. It definitely has not. And when I show my vendors in my listing presentation what similar properties to theirs were selling for 12 months ago, it's very apparent that we're way up from where we were.
Would you be buying in this market?
Absolutely. That's the rule of thumb always. Transact in the same market. So buy and sell in the same market. It's irrelevant because if people were selling in November and absolutely winning the jackpot with their property price, well, guess what was happening?
Yep.
They were paying through the nose for the next purchase.
Yep.
Right? And it wasn't fun. And that's why there was a very, very limited amount of stock level out there, because people were going, well, that's great that I can get $3 million for my house in DY. Where am I going to go?
It's true.
Where am I going to go?
It's true. Scenario. Very good friend of mine, very sad story the other night. Rung me and said, mate, we're going to get divorced. And I was like, he said, I need your advice. I'm not going to say any more. I'm going to get the wife on the phone and I want you to give your real estate advice. They got on the phone, had a chat, and they said, look, we've been in this house for 10 years. We can't live together anymore. What do you reckon we do? We're thinking we're at the top of the housing market. We're thinking dump the house. We're thinking go and rent for 6 and 12 months and then probably buy 2 smaller houses next to each other or 2 smaller units and move in it. What are your thoughts? My advice on that scenario, which I think is a real scenario, I think it's relevant to a lot of people at the moment where they think they're sitting in the property market. My advice to him was when you look back in 5, 10, 15, 20 years, doesn't matter. I always apply that to a question. Does it matter when you look back in 5 years' time? Will it matter if you rented for 6 or 12 months, or if you bought? Play the long game in that. So I was like, you know what? When you look at stamp duty of what a house, I think their house was a $5 million house.
Yeah.
In the West, and I think it's in the West, and I was like, you know what, dude, what you basically got to do is just play the long game. So if you think you're going to get those 2 apartments and that's where you're going to live the next 10 or 20 years, sell your house now, buy those 2 apartments.
Yeah.
Do it now.
But you know what, Mark?
Wait.
I also think people forget something really important. What works for you? What works for you? Like, people actually forget to ask themselves that question. What works for you? Everyone's always, what if we do this and what if we do that? These lovely people, unfortunately, are getting divorced. And so who knows, where all the shit hits the fan, and I said this to you, Mark, is that it's all good and well, it's all going to be amicable and we're going to sell the house, we're thinking maybe in a year when the market comes up. But what happens is someone goes and gets a girlfriend or a boyfriend in the meantime and all the shit hits the fan. Yep. And all of a sudden, all of that's out the window. Ask yourself, when works for you? That's the most important thing.
And a big one that I think the big one that I gave him, the cracker piece of advice, if I do say so myself, that I gave him is how do you know you're going to be able to lend the money in 1 year or 2 years or 3 years?
Yeah.
So I was like, that's great. You've sold your great asset, and you don't even know if you can borrow money to buy a property each
one income
later on. So another scenario that we ran was renting the house out, and then they go and rent 2 properties or just something different, because the current house doesn't work any longer. Not just because of the marriage, it just doesn't work.
Yes.
So it was like, mate, get your business done and don't stay out of the market. And I thought that'd be interesting for people today to hear.
Yeah, very good. But, again, and Luke, thank you for agreeing with me. You've got to just ask yourself, what's the situation that works best for you? Because right now in that current situation, whether, you're getting divorced or whatever your situation is, it can very quickly change, guys. If we rewind a year, look at how much all of our situations have changed over the last year and what's gone on. Sometimes there's just things that are completely out of our control, Mark, like COVID.
And also look at where you're getting the information from. They haven't asked a marriage counsellor for advice. They've asked a real estate agent.
I love what you did the other night. By the way, anyone that is watching Maths, Married at First Sight, best episode ever. Even Mark has been watching it.
Fantastic.
But Mark, it was so funny what you did the other night. Mark wanted to know if the marriage counsellors on MAFS that are giving out really good advice have actually been married or divorced themselves. So you Googled it. I was so impressed. I reckon that's one of the best things you've done all week.
You've got to watch where you're getting advice from, because again, I would have given that advice. I would have given them would have been investment. It would have been real estate. It would have been non-emotional.
Yes.
So be careful, because it's not really holistically the whole picture. You sort of want to go and get advice from someone like mum and dad, or someone that's married.
What she's
that's
giving you
married,
advice.
to get that marriage advice.
Absolutely.
Is what I'm saying. So that
the real estate agent makes sure they're buying and selling the property. Yeah, definitely. All right, I reckon that's it, Marky.
That's a week.
That's a wrap.
Everyone have a great weekend. We got end of the month. We got Vivid Light Festival on the way. What else is happening in Sydney?
Just, you know
This
what,
weekend?
we were out in the city last night with some friends. Bumped into the lovely Vic LaRusso, celebrity auctioneer, who does our auctions as well. But I tell you what, the city was buzzing. There was traffic. There were people everywhere. The restaurants were full. It definitely feels like normality is returning. For how long, who knows? But let's just enjoy it. It was a wonderful thing to see, wasn't it?
Yep.
All right, that's it. See you guys. Have a great week.
There you go.
See ya.